25 funny boss ideas in Mario Maker 2. Today, we're looking at some silly and some truly absurd boss encounters. As a challenge, I dare you not to laugh a single time during this video. Keep track of how many times you laughed and post that number in the comments at the end. Blue Toad feels ashamed about his capture. He felt helpless while relying on his friends to come to his rescue. Blue Toad decides to prove that he is as tough as his friends who saved him. He must travel to an island full of mean bosses. Toadette the inventor worries that her friend has not yet fully recovered, so she unleashes her newest invention, the Stupidity Ray. She activates the device, and in one blast, it dumbifies every inhabitant of Imbecile Isle without Blue Toad even knowing. Blue Toad prepares for the toughest trials he has ever faced. This journey will show every creature in the Mushroom Kingdom not to mess with him. He steps into a room and immediately sees Bowser approaching on note blocks. Blue Toad's first instinct is to run, but instead he holds his ground as Bowser bounces up to him. Seeing the fire in Blue Toad's eyes, Bowser immediately turns around and bounces into a pit out of fear. Blue Toad faces off against Boom Boom next. He sets a sweet gold trap to entice Boom Boom to get distracted. When Blue Toad enters the room, he doesn't even have to touch Boom Boom. The boss jumps forward to get a taste of the delicious big coin and melts into the molten cherry juice below. Blue Toad has been practicing his intimidating stare to use the next time he fights Bowser. In this room, Bowser falls slowly with a parachute to ambush Blue Toad. Right when he lands, the ugly turtle is so frightened by Blue Toad that he immediately has a heart attack and dies. Blue Toad's terrifying reputation must be spreading across the island. He seeks out Roy in a dark and ominous castle. Roy immediately launches some spicy magic at Blue Toad, then burrows into his bunker. He arms two impenetrable defensive springs to keep Blue Toad from getting close. Roy surfaces again to continue his onslaught, but is mesmerized by Blue Toad's strong aura, loses his footing, and falls into the goop. Bowser has leveled up his fighting strategy in this arena. He sits on a Muncher Bullet Blaster combo stack and shoots spiked shellmets at Blue Toad. The Blue Mushroom Man uses his head to alter the course of the shellmet and sends it behind his foe to hit a POW block. The Winged Muncher on Bowser's stack tries to help, but launches him into the ceiling, smashing him to smithereens. Bowser has an idea to team up with Ludwig to punish Blue Toad. Bowser stands on top of his Koopaling vehicle and launches fireballs. Ludwig jumps to get closer to the action, but accidentally drops Bowser off of his back. The Big Bone Koopa King smashes through the floor and falls into the abyss below. Hammer Bros are the most annoying enemies in the game. In this room, Lieutenant Hammer protects himself with a nasty skewer with no way for Blue Toad to advance. Blue Toad gets a brilliant idea and launches a single fireball toward the fearsome creature. Lieutenant Hammer burns to a crisp and grants Blue Toad the key. Bowser had terrible luck with Ludwig, but this time he teams up with Morton. Bowser launches a spicy meatball at Blue Toad to destroy the frozen coin pathway between them. Blue Toad climbs a nearby vine and taunts the duo until Morton ground pounds out of anger. The fiery butt slam causes both bosses to plummet to their deaths. Blue Toad heads to a frosty fortress to find Larry. The Koopaling launches moldy bagel projectiles at Blue Toad while leading him into his trap. Larry gets too nervous that the mighty Blue Toad is here and jumps down onto a P-switch that drops him down through P-blocks and into a pit. Instead of riding on a Koopaling vehicle, Bowser equips a giant thwomp on his back for protection this time. He places fire bars on tracks to burn Blue Mario if he gets too close. Blue Toad only needs a few fireballs to do the job because he's so much more powerful than the average fighter. When the fire bars come down, they push into the thwomp and crush Bowser into the ground. Iggy drops into the battle. He stands above ground tiles and shoots green lifesavers at Blue Toad. Every time he moves, a sideways spring bounces him underneath a thwomp. Because Blue Toad is clearly a genius, he comes up with the plan to walk underneath this thwomp. The thwomp smashes down and pulverizes Iggy. Bowser's so tired of being betrayed by his minions, so he goes solo for this battle. He parachutes down with the perfect plan to drop the blue fungus through the floor. As Bowser lands, Blue Toad uses his telekinesis to activate a P-switch and drop the angry turtle to his doom. Wendy harnesses the power of the angry sun for this next encounter. Blue Toad is stuck in the wall as Wendy launches a ring at him. Blue Toad endures this battle and waits for the angry sun to make its move. The sun swoops across, melting the frozen coin blocks under Wendy and dropping her into the spicy sludge. Bowser finally walks on solid ground and puts himself in a tight area to block Blue Toad. He has a tiny muncher on his back while launching giant flaming meteors. Blue Toad says some hurtful things to make Bowser jump in rage. When he does, the small muncher makes bob-ombs explode and trigger an on-off switch that instantly destroys the green spiky boss. Blue Toad moves on to face the toughest Koopaling of them all, Lemmy. He gets himself caught in the wall and jumps up to summon Bullet Blasters. 2 Bullet Blasters move towards the center and slice right through Lemmy to defeat him. Bowser realized his problem was constantly falling through the floor, so this time he hangs in a claw for safety. Blue Toad gathers all of his courage and jumps into another claw underneath. With a few swings, he shakes the ceiling so much that Bowser falls out of his safe claw and into the hole below. Ludwig rides on his Thwomp steed to destroy Blue Toad. The Thwomp dashes away and transforms them both into giants. Right as Giant Ludwig is about to deal some giant damage, Blue Toad starts to sing. Bowser Jr. crashes in from the ceiling so confused and destroys the best hair Koopaling in one hit. This next boss waits to ambush from the ceiling. The intelligent Spiny chooses the perfect moment to plan his strike. As he drops down, Blue Toad jumps out of the way, disorienting the Spiny and causing it to spin right into the lava. Blue Toad feels unstoppable. He faces Bowser yet again. This time, Bowser uses a skull coaster to get into position. He accidentally slips off and bounces up and gets stuck between sideways springs. After waiting for something to actually happen, Blue Toad starts to get bored. He eventually just ground pounds an on-off switch to obliterate Bowser and move on. Blue Toad feels like these bosses have been a little bit too easy. He moves into an arena against a surely brutal boss. When he steps into the room, he sees a lonely small Goomba hopping along. This has to be a decoy. Blue Toad carefully decides to step on the Goomba, ready for the messy aftermath. Oh, I guess that was it. Maybe Blue Toad won't tell his friends about this fight. Surely Twisters will give Bowser the upper hand this time. He floats toward the blue mushroom and spits flames. Blue Toad just stands with great posture, looking menacing. And that was enough to distract the Twisters and get them off balance. Bowser falls through the brick blocks and blasts off once again. Bowser Jr. sees how much his dad is struggling and challenges Blue Toad himself. In this battle, Blue Toad moves so quickly that Bowser Jr. can barely see him. With such a fast-paced fight, he needs to make split-second decisions and really bring his A-game. After the blink of an eye, Blue Toad quickly defeats Bowser Jr. Big Bowser is back, and he now decides to summon giant floppy fish to attack Blue Toad. Unfortunately for Bowser, Blue Toad's color reminds these Cheep Cheeps of the water, and they turn on Bowser and destroy him instead. In this epic room, Bowser hires a Zappa Mecha Koopa, stands on a muncher, and has a safety claw. Absolutely nothing could go wrong here. He jumps up to land in the claw as he hurls a red orb and lasers destroy the ground underneath. Oops, he forgot to grab the claw. There he goes again. Here comes the final battle. This one will make every other fight seem like a joke. Blue Toad moves through a slow auto-scroll hallway while dodging many fire meteors. What waits for him at the end? Maybe every boss he faced will join forces and finally take him down. Blue Toad moves through the end and sees a puny fire piranha plant spitting tiny fire seeds. He jumps on the axe and sends this nuisance into the lava. Blue Toad confronts his friends and vows that he will get payback against whoever pranked him with these ridiculous bosses. Now he just needs to figure out who it was.